All right. Hi, everybody. This is Plinio Pimentel and Roma Mack. We are on the MDM team here at Ivanti, and we have this pretty exciting new feature with integration with autopilot and Microsoft Azure AD, and we're going to show you a demo of how this works. So, Roman, take it away.
All right. So welcome, everybody. In front of you, you see a browser where we can log into our Azure account, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. And what you see here is this is an account that you can get from Microsoft, and from here you can actually configure MDM so that you can tie EPM to Azure. And the place we're going to start with is we're going to start at Azure Active Directory, and so you're going to typically add your users in here in your groups, and ultimately you're going to configure your MDM right here. And to proceed with actually what we're going to try to do, we're going to actually bind the Azure AD functionality into EPM, and to do that we need to configure a couple things. So we'll start with the Azure side, and the first place you need to go into is mobility here. And to do that, you'll need to get an account that has that capability. Then what you'll need to do is you'll need to create an on-premise MDM application. That's done through the Add Application. We've already done one here, Ivanti MDM application, where we've also uploaded an icon. So we can just click on that, and we arrive at this screen here. Now this screen is used to point this Azure tenant to the EPM server that we're interested in. And you'll see here that we've got a CSA. It may not be immediately obvious, but this is actually a CSA, and the CSA is pointing to a specific core, and then it has a path that follows it down here to the other end, which ends up being actually an endpoint that we use. So proceeding forward from here, what you would do is you obtain this path from our documentation on how to construct the path, fill in your path. You would fill in the exact same path right below it, and then click on-premise MDM application settings. And you will also need to use that CSA portion that we saw here that we just filled in. We need to also put it here in the app ID URI field. And it needs to look like this with a :444 at the end for the port number. And you will need port 444 open so that devices outside of your network, if that's how you have your network, or that's how you have your devices configured to work outside of your network, you will need to be able to allow them in through that port, and also port 443. Now, the rest of these items here are optional, but I think if you want to, you can upload a logo here and then maybe give it a name. And given all that, we can now proceed with the next step, which is to configure the Ivanti Management Console for EPM. So let's go and take a look over there. So what we have here is a core that's been partially configured. And so let's go into MDM, and device discovery is where you want to be under configure there. And there's a new setting here, Windows MDM Autopilot. And what you'll need to do is you'll need to bring over a couple of settings from Azure into EPM. So here we've got that URL, the app ID URI you just saw a second ago. So you fill that in here, and then the directory ID is also obtained, but from a different page. So this value you'll need to fill in, and I'll show you where to get that. Go down to Azure Active Directory, and then go down to Properties, I believe it is. And then what you want is this directory ID value here, so just copy and paste this in. And that should do it. However, it seems like that should be enough, but you will actually have to supply an enrollment agreement of some kind, which is like a EULA. So we have one here that we're using for our demo purposes, and it's been brought in via the Browse button, and then I click the Save button, and now it's stored in the database and is now available for enrollment purposes. So I'll show you how that works in a second here. Okay, so that's all configured. And now we can actually fire up a, what I'm going to show is an actual out-of-the-box enrollment here option. Now you can also do BYOD, which is a Windows 10 PC that's been set up for the workplace. And you would go into the workplace and you put in your Azure ID or your path or your basically your username. It looks like an email along with your password, and then you can enroll. And we're going to do that here, but I'm not going to demo the BYOD case because it's basically the same thing. Okay, so we've just reset this machine and we're starting completely clean. And so we're going to step through a few screens and answer a few questions. You need to set it up for an organization. And here's where you enter a username. So you probably have a number of users. So we're going to just pick one of our users here. Okay, there's our enrollment agreement that we actually configured. So we are actually talking to our EPM server right now through the CSA, and we did, Windows did actually, the client actually did request the information. So there's a bunch of things going on in the background between the device, Windows device, Azure, and EPM, and they're all sort of talking between each other to get to this point. And so we would normally have a user read this information and they could accept or decline. We're just going to go ahead and accept. Now this is where the user gets to choose which of these Windows options they want to use or not use or enable or disable. And for now we're just going to click accept. Now these can be configured within Azure. We could actually potentially disable all of them so the user doesn't see that. Very soon we should actually get a multi-factor authentication request, which may or may not be enabled in your Azure environment, but in ours it is, and so the user will have to actually proceed. Now, what I have is I've got an iPhone, and on my iPhone I've got this app from Microsoft that's called Authenticator, and I've configured this Azure account to work with it. So the Authenticator account will work with a whole bunch of different scenarios. So I'm just gonna, the scenario I'm interested in here is this specific Azure account or tenant. Okay, so let's enter the verification code. So this is on a timer, so it's giving me new code about every, or is it 30 or 60 seconds, something like that. So I'll go ahead and enter it in. And there's other ways to go through that. I think you can get a text message, that sort of thing. Now we're going to have the user set up a new PIN and proceed with the actual usage of Windows 10 right now. And so we are, at this point, enrolled into Azure and EPM at the same time. Okay, and so we can actually confirm that by going into Settings, Accounts, and Access Work or School, and you'll see that it's connected here, and you can see the user that's being that was used to enroll this particular MDM account. Okay. All right. Now the next thing that is of interest to us is we want to be able to deploy an agent down to this device, and this the EPM agent can actually be installed via MDM, and that's what we're going to demo next. So to do that, let's go take a look at our management console. So how do we do that? What you would typically do, if you haven't done this already, make sure you've clicked the build button, rebuild all, so that all your packages are built. And what we're going to do, we're going to click on the default Windows configuration, and normally what you would do is select Advanced Agent, and it would, in the background, build your agent for you. This is an MSI, and that's something that that MDM can install onto the device. So this has already been done, and so we can actually go take a look and see where that's set up. So if we go over to packages, distribution packages, I went in here and I created a new Windows MSI package, and this MSI package I configured to point to the advanced agent MSI, which is right here. So this is the name I gave it, default configuration for MDM. Now, what you want to do, you want to host that MSI. Here it's called default Windows configuration, and it's in the advanced agent folder on the core, but you are most likely going to have this MSI installed on some external web server that you host, and that's where it will be delivered to your devices. Most likely something that has internet, that's accessible through the internet. Okay, so we got that all configured, and finally the last piece that you need to do so that the agent actually gets installed onto the Windows 10 device is you need to click on this button here. It says MDM Enrollment Agent Packages. Now, there's two sections. There's the Windows section and the Mac section. We're just going to focus on the Windows section. You need to check the checkbox, and then now you will see default configuration for MDM. That's the agent that you created, the package, and you select that, and then you click Save. Okay, and that's sufficient to have everything configured to get the agent down. Now, how are you going to get this agent down to your device? Well, the best way to do it is to have that all pre-configured, and as your devices enroll, they will actually auto-install the agent, and off you go. In this case, we've already enrolled, and we should probably double check that, and there it is. There's our device. This is the out-of-the-box enrollment, the UBI device. Double click on that, and we can see right now it's just an MDM enrolled device because there's a mobile devices folder and not too many subfolders. What we want to do is want to actually get that agent installed. So we can actually do that after the fact too. You can do it during enrollment, or you can do it after enrollment, after you've configured everything. So this would be really handy if you wanted to install this onto devices that are already enrolled, perhaps. The way we would do that is actually quite simple. We just do a mobile sync. And given the fact that we had configured it down here, the process will complete, and the agent will get installed, and we'll actually check in. And hopefully, after this is all done, we should be able to see that the inventory updates here. Now, this process is going to take a little while. However, it doesn't take too long. I would say probably about 5 to 10 minutes. All right, so at this point, the agent should be installed. So we can confirm that by looking in the details of Task Manager, and we can see that there's a number of executables that are running, particularly Resident Agent over here, and a few others. So that's a good sign. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our management console. Go ahead and refresh, and we can already see some new icons, or the icons actually being enhanced here. So let's double click on this, and now all of a sudden we see our inventory has expanded substantially, and that tells us that our agent has installed. And also we can see that the mobile devices folder here is present, and so that's a good sign. That means that we've got both MDM and EPM agent running, so in a hybrid mode. And at this point, the device can be managed both ways. So thank you very much for watching this video, and hopefully this is something that you can deploy very soon. Thank you.